When we engage moving targets, there's a couple different engagement techniques that we'll use that we're going to talk about later on this segment. But first, for the newer shooters, we need to talk about equipment. And when we talk about equipment, we're talking about optics and how the optics help us or assist us engaging moving targets with a high level of accuracy and consistency. Typically, we want to use a front focal plane scope. That front focal plane scope allows us to use the entire magnification range and have true angular units of measure in that scope, whether it's mils or MOA. All right, if you have a second focal plane scope, your reticle, which we use to determine the leads, is only going to be accurate at one magnification, and typically that's a high magnification. When we engage moving targets, obviously the target's moving across the field in a tactical environment, a competition environment, or in a hunting environment. So we're going to need a lot of situational awareness. We're going to need to find the target, range estimate the targets, determine its speed if it's not given to us, and we're going to need to have that situational awareness that wide field of view allows us. That's why using a front focal plane scope is ideal when engaging moving targets. If you use that second, you're going to need to use a lot of practice and understand you're going to be getting that soda straw field of view, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but not impossible. So let's talk engagement techniques. Here at K&M, we are huge proponents on using the ambush or trapping method. The second engagement technique is tracking, very common in our shotgun disciplines. However, when you look at the integrated active firing, when you look at the fundamentals, it goes against the fundamentals, especially when you're talking a long-range precision shot. Every minute error in those fundamentals causes the error where you're talking a small target at 500 yards. It's very difficult to be consistent when you're putting that sort of muscle into the integrated active firing. So what we teach, trapping or ambushing, is one and the same. You place your target, you place your reticle and your lead out in front of the target's path. You get a steady position, just like you're going to shoot your dot drills at 100 yards, just like you're zeroing your gun, or just like you're shooting a 1,000-yard shot. You pick the exact point of engagement, you go through your breathing, you go through the integrated active firing, and you gauge that shot on your terms with your proper lead. You let the bullet fly through the air, the target will continue to move on its path, and it'll intersect right on your reticle. Those leads can be determined either on ballistic calculators, flow charts, or you can get out in the field and test it in real world environments if you like. So we mentioned earlier in this segment about your lead. All right, the shooter needs to understand how to attain that lead. We do that from the ballistic calculator, from the ballistic app. You can get it online. There's a lot of free methods or methods you could purchase which will benefit the shooter. Every single one of those apps, however, is only good as the inputs that we provide. So when we put in mover speed and we put in the distance, the apps are going to give us our lead. For this example, let's say 1.9 is a very common lead at 500 yards, which is a common distance for movers. However, the human eye, and when we combine the trapping or ambushing, we always want to engage from lead edge, because that lead edge has that contrast that the human eye sees very well. The ballistic app does not know our target size, so you need to convert that target size in inches to mils and subtract that 4 or 5/10 if it's a 12-inch target, let's say, and subtract that from your lead, which will determine a 1.4 to 1.5 mil lead, which will get you right in the center of the target. If you have any questions, if you want to come out and shoot moving targets, get with us at K&M. Our training is simply unrivaled, the best facility in the country. We'd love to have you out.
Hi guys, I'm Justin Lewis with Trigger Time TV. Welcome to the Gear Locker. Today we're going to talk a little bit about scopes. What I've got in front of me right now is a Horus scope. This is a 5 to 20 power scope with a 50 millimeter objective. We're going to start from the front and go back. We've got a 50 millimeter objective, 30 millimeter tube, mil adjustments. Each click is 0.1 mils. Your power ring is back here, goes from 5 all the way to 20, and is a front focal plane scope. So your mil marks are all going to be a mil even at 5 power as they are at 20 power. Front focal plane scopes nowadays are incredibly useful, especially if you're shooting out at range, maybe doing holdovers. You're pretty well, if you've got a front focal plane scope, you're way ahead of the game. The mil reticle that's in it is a Trimmer 3 reticle. It's one of the most advanced reticles that are out there. And also the adjustments match the style reticle that's in the optic. From stem to stern, from the front to back, this thing is just over 13 inches long, weighs about 28 ounces. The top turret is exposed and it has nice audible tactile clicks. It has a zero set on it, it's what Horace is calling it, so you can spin it all the way down. Once you've got it zeroed, you can spin it all the way down to its stopping point and you're back at zero. Parallax adjustment is here on the left side. These optics are an incredible value for the money. Nowadays, front focal plane is all the rage. You can range and your holdovers are all the same at all the powers. The windage cap on the side here is actually capped. So once it is set, I personally like to leave it there and do my holdovers. This is some great glass and great value for the money. You get an absolute wonderful value for the optic that you get. But that is the Horace 5 to 20 by 50 millimeter optic. I'm Justin Lewis with Trigger Time TV. Thanks for joining us in the Gear Locker.